All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Pro Physique Code. We've got another episode with a bikini Olympian, Miss Lawna Dunbar.
Hello.
How we doing? How's the Post-Olympia been?
The Post-Olympia has been good. It's like a lot of, family time, because of Christmas, but then there's been a lot of reflection over the past year and a half as well, which is crazy to think.
Yeah, so I want to talk about the whole journey all the way back to June of 2021 when we first started chatting.
Yeah,
And then I also believe you got the plague from the Olympia.
full on plague.
Did you
Yeah.
actually get flu, COVID, or did you just get respiratory?
I got the respiratory cough and my body just was exhausted. I slept for like 3 days and just had no energy and stuff like that, but like no
Yeah.
flu. So it was good in that regard. But I had not been sick this entire past year and a half, and then boom, Olympia plague.
Yeah, I mean, you combine the fact with everybody was in Vegas, everybody was fatigued. We were all huddled in those buildings and rooms.
Yeah.
I think it's especially even the Arnold, it's just a recipe. It's like, 3 degrees
Yeah.
outside. It's just a recipe. One year I came home from the Arnold with the flu.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure you're getting your sleep and you're taking your vitamin C when you go to these big events because it's
Totally.
bound to happen. Did Eric get sick at all?
No, he managed to avoid it
Oh
altogether.
boy.
So his immunities are strong right
That a
now.
boy. That a boy. Good for Mr. E.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, so when you first started getting back into competing, you mentioned this in a post the other day.
Mm-hmm.
It was because of a death, correct?
Yeah. So in a way, COVID kind of brought me back to competing because I couldn't travel, couldn't do anything anymore. So that was the initial spark of like, I'm going to start working out again. I'm going to start trying to get lean. And then after I did that first show in May, our friend passed away in June. And at the time, she was 26 years old. It was a car accident. She was so young. She just finished her nursing degree. Gives me the chills thinking about it. But she just was such a young person who had so much ahead of her, so like so much life to live. And I was what, 20, 28 or 29 at the time, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just had this reignited flame for my passion for bodybuilding, for still wanting to be a pro, still wanting to be at Olympia, and she just passed away in like a blink of an eye. And I was like, I want to go for it. I want to live each and every day like it's my last day on earth. So
It's
that's
such a
kind of like
cliche thing, but when
it
you
is.
experience loss, like, I
It
lost
is.
my mom in my 20s and my uncle in my 20s. And like, so when you see these people around you that are still my mom was in her 40s, like, and to
Right.
see these people that are so young and vibrant,
Yes.
just gone, it does make you pause and go, man, there's nothing guaranteed.
No, not at all.
And you want that time back, and so it makes
Mm-hmm.
you go, okay, I need to do more with the time that I have. I do want to talk a little bit about um you know getting that pro card, because you always tell the story. I think we've even talked about it maybe on a podcast before, about
Mm-hmm.
competing 7 years ago, or actually probably eight
Oh
years ago
yeah.
now, right? So let's
Yeah.
talk about your first season competing and how you didn't turn pro.
Right. So back when I was 21, I was in college. I got into bodybuilding because I was all done with sports. I was an athlete through junior college, played volleyball, ran track. So my dad showed me bodybuilding on YouTube. He said, "Look at all these bikini girls. You can go on stage and show your muscles."
You
And I was a
might be the
dance.
only girl that's ever had her dad tell her to go
I
do
know,
bikini.
I know. Everyone like gets freaked out when I say that, but I'm like, he was a lover of bodybuilding. So,
Yeah.
and I used to dance too. So I used to be on stage, and he was like, you can do this. So my first job in college was working at a gym. So I would open the gym 4:30 in the morning until 10, and then I would go work out, and then I would go to class. And so that first year getting into it, I just did a local show, but I got the bug. I was super excited. I loved the stage. I loved the hair, the makeup, the tan. Like my mom made my suit for me. It was like a whole family affair, and everyone was there to cheer me on. And that's also how I met my husband, through bodybuilding. And then I started doing an NPC show, and it went really well. I got like an overall. My first overall was actually at Tahoe show, and Eric got overall too. And then we went and did Sacramento show, and I got overall. And then all those same girls went to Miami for the last show of the year to do
Yeah, so this
nationals in
was what year was this?
2014.
2013? 14.
14,
So for anyone that's
14.
not
I think it was
familiar,
14.
the Sacramento show is in November.
Yes.
And that's the last national qualifier, usually before nationals. The head judge is also Sandy Williamson. So a lot of girls now will go there intentionally to get in front of Sandy before nationals for feedback. You probably had no idea who Sandy was.
No
You just
idea.
did the show. You win the
Yes.
overall. All the girls
Yes.
there are probably like, crap, she's going to go turn pro. And you don't even show up.
I did not go. It was the end of the year. I was broke. I was in college. I didn't have money for a ticket to Miami. So I didn't go. And every single girl that placed first in their height category that went to Miami all got their pro card. And I was like, I lost my chance.
Was there anybody there that like made it to the Olympia that I would have heard of?
So a lot of the girls competed for a couple years and then not. So I don't know. Did Ashley Puida? She's a very tall
I
girl.
remember the name.
She made it to Olympia one year. Lawna Dunbar, she's on
I
Fit
remember
Body
Hannah.
Fusion.
Yeah, I was actually there when she
Yeah.
turned pro. I was there.
So
It was the
that
same
was
year
the
as,
year
I think it
I
was the
was
year
supposed to
after Lauren
go.
Conlon. Yeah.
Yeah. So Lawna Dunbar got her pro card. Ashley Puida got her pro card. And those were all the girls that I was just with. And there was another girl too. I can't remember her name, but
Yeah.
three of us 5 girls, those 3 girls went, got their pro cards. Me and another girl didn't go, and I was like, wow, I lost my chance. Like I felt like it was my one and only chance, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it does feel that way sometimes. And
Yeah.
that was actually the last show you did for a long time, right? 7
Yeah,
years.
I took a good break, and then I actually did one more show. I came back July, like 6 months later, and I did my very first and only national show in Vegas, and I got my ASS handed to me.
So,
yeah.
oh, my little boy just snuck in the office, so he might sit here for a minute. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is Jace.
Hi, Jace.
Lawna met Jace. You came to the house earlier this year, so say hi to Lawna. So yeah, so when you came back to competing, it was after this, you thought you kind of missed your time in the sport.
Right.
And I'm gonna foreshadow something, but who were like the top pros competing that year, 2014, that were at the Olympia? Because you competed against some of them
who
this year.
I loved.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing. I mean, the girls that I looked up to were Amanda Latona, Stephanie Maho, India Paulino.
Yeah.
Of course, there was Janet still. She was like, you know, at the top of her game then too.
Yeah.
Big dog in the sport. Ashley Kay, of course. So a lot of girls that I do get to compete with now were OG back then.
Well, we'll talk about one of the shows in particular in a minute here. But so after taking that much time off, were you still like paying attention to the sport and going, man, look at how it's evolving? Because I remember looking back at your old pictures from that Sacramento show, and that, you know, they had that like that kickback front pose, we call it the stallion, where you kind of push your hips back.
Yep, I did that.
The standard really changed as far as like the posing, the muscularity, the suit cuts, everything.
Oh yeah, it got way more fine-tuned, I will say that much. I remember my old posing, it used to be more like wiggly and like shaky, and like I was trying to be sassy.
Oh, it used to be a lot of like hand motions. And
yeah. So they fine-tuned that for sure. And it's just really been molded into what it is today.
Oh no, and I think that's the evolution of the division. It's gotten more athletic. Hey, go downstairs with your brother. Close the door, okay? I love you, buddy. I'll see you in a little bit. He likes to sneak in my office. Make sure you close the door at the bottom, buddy. I love you. He's so quiet. If you weren't here, he'd be so loud. But the fun thing for me is because I was coaching back then, but not obviously like at the level I am now. And so it was like I was going to shows, and I remember one of the first real big shows I went to was nationals that year in 2014, and Lauren Conlon won the overall that year. And I think Hannah DeVore turned pro at that same show. So it was like that was the first time I remember, because I had a couple girls in that show, and I thought, wow, my girls look great. And I was like, what is this? Why is that girl winning? Why is that? I didn't really understand it at all. And I literally hired Lauren right after that to help me. So I would have a girl like, and I'd be like, what's she need to do? And she would tell me like her posing's bad, her suit's bad, her hair, makeup, you know. So all the things that make the bikini division different than say like a bodybuilding or a men's physique division. The difference with bikini is like,
Right.
there's so many other things that are important, just not muscle and conditioning, right? You have to have
Yeah.
all these factors, but the fact that you kind of did that early show and then
Mhm.
took 7 years off.
Yep. It's wild. I think I got so discouraged after that one national show that I tried. And I got, like I said, I got last call outs, like didn't
Yeah.
even get noticed at all. I got so discouraged. And it was also like a turning point for me in my career. I was headed to the credential program, and by not placing well and by like turning the next chapter of where my career was going, I just kind of like shut the door, and I was like, well, I guess I can't hack it. I was like, I guess I'll just focus on what's coming next at school. And so I did the credential program, and then Eric proposed to me, and then we started traveling, and then we got married in a house and a dog. And like every year it was just more exciting life things that were
Yeah.
happening. And it just, I never found my way back to the stage until kind of like the COVID situation.
Yeah. COVID was very interesting for a lot of reasons. I think, I'll make a correlation to my life.
Yeah.
Being at home, for me, I went back to some hobbies and things that I did as a kid that I had just not touched in 20 years. Actually, I got
Right.
something right here. So
Baseball.
yeah, I grew up loving and collecting baseball cards, and I never got rid of any of them. I have hundreds of thousands of them, and they were just, I just dragged them around with me. And so it's the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
you were still lifting and still had this focus, but all
Mhm.
of a sudden it was like, okay, if we can't do something else, let's find a show to do. Now,
Yeah.
did you get some shows canceled on you?
Yeah, we did. So we were going to do the Motherload show in May of 2020, and it was February, and the world shut down.
That's
So
a
we were
Vegas
like,
show, right?
no, actually it's in Reno. Well, it's in
Reno. Okay.
Nevada. It's in
Yeah, yeah,
Nevada.
yeah.
So, and the world shut down, and they kept postponing it. They pushed it back once, and we were
Yeah.
like, okay, keep working hard, keep prepping through. And then they pushed it back again, and we were like, okay, we're not going to do this. And so we just shut it down year of 2020, and we're like, we'll just take our little voucher and do the show the following year. So in May of 2021, right before I reached out to you, we did the Motherload. And I
Yeah.
got
And
first,
so,
and I went up for the overall. I didn't get the overall, but I was in for the overall. And then I reached out to you right after the show.
yeah.
I knew
So
I
that
could.
was 2021. That was like
Yep.
June. And I
Yep.
remember looking at your pictures and thinking like, oh man, like this girl's too good. I think you were like 2 weeks out from a show. You were going to do
Yep. The Sacramento one in
the
June.
Sacramento one. And
And you
then,
helped me peak. You took me in my peak week.
yeah, well, because
And
I
I
think
like
we talked
lost
a little bit
like 2
about,
pounds.
what your plan was for peak week. And I was like, no, 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 you need to do it this way. And then we just started walking your food up, and you just kept dropping
Yeah.
weight and dropping weight.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, because the show was so late. You were on the West Coast, me on the East Coast. I was looking at your pictures going, ain't nobody on this planet can beat her in an NPC show. And the text I got in the morning was, I got second in my class. And I was like,
Yeah.
who in the blue hell beat you? And of course it was Ariel
I
Barley, who
know.
was
I was like,
like, she literally turned pro at the next show and then went to the
mm,
Olympia like 2 shows later.
yes, she won a
So
freaking pro show. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. But
she was like a rising star. Yeah.
she was. I wasn't even discouraged though. I was just so happy like to
Yeah,
be back.
you've never, outside of one show where we've been
Yeah.
together, have I ever even seen you have a glimpse of like, oh no, I don't like this. You
Right.
genuinely enjoy the entire process, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and I think
I
that
do.
it probably, you're an outlier for me in terms of like body composition changes and how lean you stay and how much food you eat. So, I
Mm-hmm.
do think part of it is that like you don't place a lot of pressure and stress on yourself. You just go, I'm going to work
Yeah.
really hard and see what happens.
I think the one time I did that was the one time I got upset. I had an expectation for where I thought I
Yep.
should be, and I didn't meet
Yep.
it. And it hurt. I'm not gonna lie, it
Yeah, no,
hurt.
I mean, I was the same way when I got the message that you were second call outs at that show. I said,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
That's not
So,
even, you had just gotten 3/3 in a row. And I'm like, what are you talking
mhm,
about? And you
right.
were probably the most high ranked athlete at that show. It was like a
I think
backwards
so,
show.
yeah.
All the high
Yeah,
ranking athletes got bad, and
it flipped. It really did. And so after that show, I just was like, I'm just gonna come and see what they think of me, basically. And I
sure.
kind of flipped my mentality. I think I shared it in one of my YouTube videos. I was like, I now think this judge wants me to bring it. They want me to be my best. And I kind of put it on them now, like
Yeah.
how they're viewing me. And that helped me a little bit too. Like
Yeah.
now when I go out on stage and I go do my routine, I tell myself, Sandy wants me to be fire right now. Like Tyler wants me to be amazing. He is looking for me to be the best,
I think
So
that's a good assessment, because when the
yeah,
judges are happy with how you look, they
yeah,
let you know. They
yeah.
go, you'll see a nod, or you'll see, if you listen to the podcast with Daraja, she said when she walked out on the Olympia stage and she looked down at Tyler, he literally just
Yeah.
kind of looked at her and just like said, "Yep, you did it." Like,
Right?
like
Yeah.
with his face, and that's all
Yeah.
that you're looking for. Now, Sandy is big smile.
All right.
I think everybody thinks they won the show with Sandy.
Right. And Becky too. Oh, I love
Becky,
how
yeah, and I
Becky
think,
smiles. I told her that.
yeah, so they all have their own kind of little traits that let you know. But I
Right.
mean, as a pro judge, they know you guys so well that they're
Mhm.
comparing you to you oftentimes, and they're like, "You got better."
Right.
Yes, thank you,
Yeah,
thank you for
that's
listening and doing the work.
yeah, that's all you can do. If their feedback is like, I want to see you tighter, and you bring that next time, like,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So
So then we decide, after getting second at that Sacramento show, that okay, let's do NPC Universe. It was a few weeks later. You
mhm.
were really lean. And Ariel had turned pro at the next week at like junior nationals.
Yep.
So she
Tennessee,
wasn't going to
yeah.
be in your class. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay. And then I had another really good girl in class F at that show too. So I was like,
Yes.
I was a little worried because I don't like to like,
Right. Have
but
us both.
ultimately I don't really get to decide who wins.
No,
Uh,
it could have been none of us. So
right, right. Or it could have been both of you, or whatever it
yeah.
was going to be that day. But ultimately at NPC Universe, which that was the year that it was still in Charleston,
Yep. Mhm.
um, we did get first call outs,
Yeah. I
but I
was
think
so happy.
you finished seventh. Yeah.
Yeah, it was 7 or 8. I was so happy because, mind you, that was only my second national show and they were 8 years apart. I went
Yeah.
from last call outs to first call outs and I
That's
was
true.
like, they noticed me, because it
I
feels
was
like
I
that.
was I kept looking at you going, they're gonna move her in, they're gonna move her in. They never
Yeah,
moved you in. Um, and that class was fantastic. That was the only class of the day that Tyler, and he does this occasionally from
he
show to
did.
show.
Yeah.
He judged the class, and at the end of it, he goes, "Ladies, fantastic class. We'll see you
Yeah,
tonight." Right.
he said that
And
was
then
the
there
best
was
class
like
of the day.
probably 30 girls or 40 girls, and it was huge.
Mhm.
Um, and so yeah, to be in first call outs was good. I would have
Mm,
liked to seen you move in, but
right.
ultimately Kathy Seitz won that class over Danielle Combs. Danielle
Right.
Combs has placed top 5 or 6 at multiple pro shows.
Yep.
Kathy's in prep right now for the Boston Pro.
Nice.
She actually ended up winning the overall that day at the universe. So it was like,
Yeah,
it was obviously one of the more stacked classes at the show.
it
And
was.
we got some feedback that was good.
Yeah.
They just wanted to
Yeah.
see you put some glutes on.
Mhm. Totally.
Um, and to my surprise, I don't want to say surprise, but I was still learning you. Like, we'd only been together for a little bit. Um,
Right.
you're like, okay, what's next? I want to do another show. And I was
Yeah.
like, well, we got to try to grow, and then we'll plan for like NPC Nationals, which was
Mhm.
November, right? Or
Mhm,
December
mhm.
even. And
Yep.
that gave us like 5 or 6 months.
Yeah. So we did a little reverse there
And
after Universe.
yeah, and so the plan there was, let's grow a little bit. And then we got lined up with, it wasn't the Sacramento show. It was called Governor Cup. What was the name of the show
Oh, yeah.
before Nationals?
Was it such a Sacramento Pro Show?
It
Laura
might have
Leach
been Sacramento
taught
Pro again. It
us
might
to
have been
that.
in
It was
November.
again. Yeah. It was November. Yeah, we did that one. And Tyler and Etala
Tyler,
and Sandy
a
were
huge judging
all
panel.
there.
And
Yeah.
it's funny how my memory works. What I remember about that show
Mm.
is looking at your pictures and being like, you're still flat. Eat
Oh.
more. Drink more Gatorade. Like, I was like, we got
Yeah.
to keep you full. You were like
Right.
dropping weight all week.
Mm.
And again, I go to bed. at like 1 a.m. I can't keep my
Right.
eyes open.
Mm-mm.
And then I get a text in the morning, guess what, coach?
Right.
And I was like, did you get top 5? And you're like, shut up. I won the overall.
Had a sword and a crown and the whole shebang. Yeah. That
Yeah.
was
And
a
so
fun
that
one.
was, that was, I mean, especially with Sandy, Tyler, Etala, like,
Yeah.
that I
And
think those are important shows.
I got immediate feedback and they're like, come to nationals,
Yeah.
bring the same package, makeup, hair, everything, bring that. And I was like, but wait, I'm going to go to Ben Weeder. And they're like, okay, go to Ben Weeder. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Ben Weeder was like a week later.
It
And
was,
for those
yeah.
that aren't familiar, Ben Weeder is a drug-free show. And as a
Yeah.
natural athlete, I thought, okay, well, I hadn't never gone to Ben Weeder before. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go with you. I think I had a couple pros, maybe 4 pros do it. A
Mm-hmm.
couple other NPC competitors. So I was excited because there's not a lot of opportunity. And this was a show that was typically in like Montreal, but they had moved it to
Yeah.
DC because of COVID again. So
Right.
in our favor, and I think they're keeping it now. It's been here for a couple
Yes.
of years.
Yep.
But it's unique in that the only person that wins the pro card is the overall winner. So
Mm-hmm.
like, it's an Ariel Barley situation. You never know who's going to show up at a show. It could be you, or you could
Yep.
show up and Ariel Barley's there again, right?
Yeah.
So
It's a gamble.
it's a gamble, but you were already in prep. It
Yep.
was, it was a show that fit the schedule. And let's
Mm-hmm.
say you get second in the overall or whatever, we've got
Right.
nationals in our back pocket.
Yeah. It gave me another opportunity before the end of the year. So we did it.
Yeah. So, and I think even, your husband's interested in doing the Ben Weeder at some point, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's
So,
on his radar too.
talk to me a little bit about how you felt going into the Ben Weeder show.
I don't know. Obviously, coming off of like that overall right before, like I think it was 2 weeks before that overall, like that's a lot of validation coming from Sandy, Tyler, and Etala, and to bring the exact same package, look and everything like that. Small things like I had to do my own makeup that show, so like that's a little different or whatever. But I did still feel really good, and I never put it in my mind that I wasn't going to win or that I was not good enough to win. So I think that really translated on the stage.
Yeah.
Like
So
I was worthy. I told myself I am worthy of winning.
yeah, we'll walk through it a little bit. So the show is a little bit different in that was it on Friday or Saturday? I feel like
Friday. Yeah, Friday, I
it was on
think.
a Friday. So we got to town like Wednesday. A couple of
Mm-hmm.
us, like me, Denitra, Daraja, we all had an Airbnb together.
Yeah.
And my goal was, man, I'd really like to win the NPC and the IFBB show. Just,
Yeah.
Denitra was, I think she got 4th. She ended up in 4th, but
Mm-hmm.
I was a little surprised. There was nobody close to you at that show. Actually, the next closest was probably Catriona, who at the time
Yeah.
was not my client. But I
Right.
mean, she's a girl, like, you cannot take your eyes off her. She's beautiful, great
No.
shape, great
Yeah.
structure. And I mean, like, I kept thinking, like, God, if that girl was full, ooh, we'd be in
Right.
trouble.
And we became friends too after the Sacramento show. She was
Yeah,
there and we
yeah,
became friends. And I would just say good things about you, like, oh, my coach Paul, and we do this and linear
yeah.
load
No,
and blah, blah, blah. And
she's about to start prep, or she just started
yeah.
prep this week, if I'm not mistaken, or we're starting next
Yeah.
week. And I mean, I'm
Watch out,
excited.
everyone.
Yeah, no, she's one of those girls, like, she walks out on stage and you just go, okay, who's second? Like, when she's
I
on, she's
know.
going to be impossible to beat.
Right.
But it was actually interesting because rarely do you have an odd number in the overall, but it was 5 girls and they
Mm-hmm.
literally just put you in the middle there. I mean,
Yeah.
there was no question.
They didn't move.
The bummer was this year, what they did differently is that
Mm-hmm.
when Brittany won, it was like in the morning and
Mm-hmm.
she got her
Yes.
pro card and then she
Yes.
got to compete at the pro show.
Right.
You didn't get to do that.
Mm-mm.
And I literally, after the show, asked Becky Clausen, I said, hey, Becky, how would Lawna have done in that pro show? She goes, she would have been in the top 5 for sure. I'm
Yep.
like,
I would
damn.
have had my first little point towards Olympia.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm trying to remember who won that pro show. Oh, it was that Shanice. Was it Shanice? She's
Mm-hmm.
really
Yeah.
good.
Shanice
Yeah. So
Case,
we're
I
not
think.
beating that girl on that day.
Right. No.
And I don't remember who was second. I think it was Callista Upperman.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we
Uh-huh.
could have been fighting for a 2 or a 3 or a 4 somewhere in there. Like
Mm-hmm.
Denitra was right in there. So
Right.
it would have been interesting, but I think because we turned pro, I was a little bummed that you weren't coming to nationals.
I know you were. You did say that.
I was like, I felt like you were going
You
to
were
win
like,
the
I
overall at
wanted you to
nationals.
take the whole thing at national. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what you told me. And I was like, hey, let's not be sad here. I have a pro card. I'm about to make
Yeah.
a pro debut.
No, I definitely wasn't sad because you know what? The
No, no.
next, I did something pretty you can't do often because you competed on
Right.
Friday. I
Yeah.
flew home Saturday morning to another show,
Yeah.
and then Elena won the
Hmm.
overall at the Atlantic Coast.
Yep.
So she
That was
was
a
going
good
to
weekend.
nationals. So I was like, cool. I
Right,
got
right.
good things happening all over the state, all over the
Totally.
country. And then you had already booked your trip for nationals, so you just changed it, right?
I did. I just changed the flight, I believe. I hadn't registered, but I purchased a flight. So I just exchanged a flight. And 2 weeks later, after Ben Weeder, we're like, well, I was already going to do nationals anyways. Should we just make a pro debut and see what they think of me?
Yeah,
And
and
we
it
did
was a
it.
shock. It was like there was only one show left. It was
Yep.
Battle of Texas.
Yeah. Which I
Um,
loved.
and it was one of the longest. I think Elena went to that show with you too, right?
Yeah, she was there. I felt bad for her.
I shouldn't have had her go there because
It was
I was
rough.
wanting to get her in front of Sandy and Tyler, and I think Bill ended up being the head judge,
Yep. Hmm.
which Bill is obviously one of the top judges, but
Hmm.
she didn't get off stage till like 1:30 in the morning.
It
She
was
was so
so
over
big.
it.
It was a giant show,
Did
giant.
they do so how did they do pros at that show? Because this year they did pro prejudging at like 3 and they finished at 4.
Oh, wow. I believe we still had to come back, but they had set times for us,
Okay.
I believe.
So you didn't have too long of a day. So let's talk about your
No.
pro debut. Like,
Yeah.
tell me how you felt. Did you feel like, did you make friends with anyone? Did you fit
Right.
in? Because I couldn't be there. I think it was the same day as nationals or something.
Yeah. Honestly, my pro debut was such a positive experience for me, and I'm so grateful for that. Just everything from when I walked in to get my tan, they were like, "Oh, let me take care of you, sweetheart. I'm gonna make sure you look gorgeous and beautiful for your pro debut." And it was pro tan.
Yeah.
And I'd never like experienced that level of like, um, I don't know, just like attention to detail and like how they
Yeah.
made me feel so good and positive and like I was a pro, like I was at the next level. And Freddie Nadu and like the production of how they do everything was amazing to me. I'd never experienced that. They had like live DJs and all this
Yeah.
photography and all of these like backdrops where the giant battle up production, like where
Yeah.
you come and you take your photos, and the beautiful tree in the entrance, and it was just like a magical experience all around. And it was like I couldn't have asked for a better pro debut.
Yeah. I mean, I've since learned because that was the year I think that Daraja won the Republic of Texas to get a
Yeah.
qualification.
Yep.
And then, I had 3 or 4 girls win overalls in Texas. So I was at a bunch of the shows and I was like, man, Texas is doing it right. Like
They do.
the venues, the promoters, I mean, they get like the Battle of Texas that I was just at had something like 750 NPC competitors on December 12th or whatever it
Right.
was. I
Like
was like, what is going on right
they
now?
just they just know it's good and the people love it and they come
Yeah.
back year after year.
Yeah.
Like I would go back. I would do it again. I just
Yeah.
had such a positive experience.
Yeah. So, and you've got Bernadette that does galvanized, and then Freddie, and there's probably some other good promoters. I haven't gone
Mhm.
outside of them yet, but I'm like, man, Texas and Florida. We're so blessed with just such great promoters. There are a ton of great
Yeah.
promoters. Also you got Gary Udit up north. Like there's just, the Ben Weeder promoter, but
Right.
as a coach and a competitor, when you do a lot of shows, and what have you done? 17 shows in the last year?
I've done like something like in the last year, like
So
year and a
since
half
we've
with
been together,
you.
since you did like obviously like the Sacramento show, Universe, Ben Weeder, Battle Up. I mean, it's got to be.
Close to 20 shows
So
with you. With
you
you.
know the difference
Oh,
between.
I know the difference. I know the difference. There's some people who will put like their attention into just maybe prize money, and there'll be some people who won't do any prize money and just have the most beautiful venue you've ever been at.
Yeah,
So everybody kind of does their own thing, and you know, but
yeah,
they're all different. So
yeah.
the different
So
levels of what you're getting into.
so your pro debut, Bill Sibilia is the head judge. You come
Yeah.
out in your groups. Did you feel
Hmm.
like you were getting looked at? I mean, that's always a sense. Sometimes you
Right.
can hear them talking or looking, or did you get any idea, or were you just enjoying it?
Yeah, so I was a little nervous before walking out. I was glad to know that because my name was Dunbar, so I was pretty early on. I was probably like the third or fourth girl to go out for individuals, but I was so happy to know that they brought us out in groups at first. Like, I never did that really that much before as an NPC athlete. So that helped me shake off a little bit of nerves. And then in my individual, I just tried to bring as much confidence as I could. And I tried to look at all the judges and give them eye contact and, take my time and all those good things. But I kind of just had to know, I had no clue what they thought of me. I'd never been
Sure.
in front of Bill at all. Up until then, it was always like Sandy or Becky or Tyler. So I
Yeah.
just kind of had zero expectation. Of course, I was always hoping, like, can I make the top call out? Can I be top 6 or something like that?
Right.
That was like my personal goal, but I had no clue, honestly.
Yeah. So when you're standing on the diagonal, and
Yeah.
I don't even really remember. I remember Masa was at that show. I'm friends with Masa.
Yeah. I
I feel
made friends
like,
with a couple of them
was
during
it
makeup.
Marissa Wu? Was she at that
Yeah.
show? She was
Marissa
there.
Wu and Masa. I made friends with them during makeup. Um, and then uh what's her name? Why can't I Jen Ronziti.
Oh,
She
Jen
ended up,
Ronziti,
yeah, she won. And Alessia, I believe,
Alessia Fascine.
was
Yeah,
in
the
the
Italian
top.
girl.
And then I was like fifth. Yeah, I think that was the top 5.
Okay. So yeah. So like, yeah, those are some pretty established
Right.
pros, and you
Yeah.
obviously beat a couple too that were.
Right.
So it was first call out
Lucia.
6 girls.
No, it was only 5, I believe. They didn't award a 6, like no,
Yeah.
trophy or crown or whatever. I made friends with Lucia that, and
Oh,
she
she's
didn't.
got so much energy. She's always
Yeah,
like
she
bubbly
was
and
dancing
chatty.
backstage,
Oh,
and
always.
she was a really positive experience for me, or like part of why I enjoyed the show a lot. She was really
Yeah.
nice and, yeah, and friendly
Yeah,
and stuff like
she's
that.
another one, like every time you see her, she's just like, "Hey, how are you?" And
Yeah.
yeah, I like her. She reminds me of Jasmine Gonzalez, who was always
Oh
so
yeah.
fun backstage. Like, even when I first started coaching at that level, I'd be back
Mm-hmm.
there like, okay, just
Right.
trying to help my athletes. And then someone like Jasmine Gonzalez would just like be back there having fun, and I'd be like, "Thank you. You're
Yeah.
you're making me relax because it's not like so serious all the time."
Sure. Totally.
Um,
I love to see her at shows.
Yeah, so then we get the news that you're in first call outs
I know.
and you're
And I was
fighting for
like,
5 or 6 after
so
prejudging.
crazy. Yeah, actually, the girl who got 6, she was also kind of a rookie and new too, now that I'm remembering. She was a blonde girl with a red
Yep.
suit, and I was,
Yeah.
kind of blonde with a red suit at the same time. So I was like, it could go either way,
Yeah.
apples and oranges here. So, but we ended up getting 5th, and that was my first point to Olympia at the end of the year. And then it like struck another chord with me. And I also had just went and watched Olympia a couple months before, which also got me
Yeah,
excited
you
too.
came to Orlando for the
Yeah.
Olympia and
Yep.
I think you just took it all in, right? Like that was
I
your.
did. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my first experience ever going to Olympia. And I was like, how have I never done this before?
Right.
And it just was like an eye opener. It's like,
Well,
I
and that
want to do
wasn't
that.
that wasn't the real Olympia, as you now
Right.
know. But
No.
that was exciting because we got Daraja in that first call out. The first time I ever
Yep.
had an athlete in first call outs, and like
Mm-hmm.
to see
That was,
her and 6th in the world.
yeah.
I know a lot of, you know, for better or worse, a lot of competitors trusted me a little more after that. People that
Oh, yeah.
probably were like, "Oh, I'm thinking about working with Paul," started reaching out to me. And so, it's as a competitor, you want to know that your coach, I guess, understands the
Right.
demands of athletes at that level. And so
Right.
hopefully you were like, "Cool, my coach can do it."
No, same. I was like, dude, that's my teammate, like so excited. Like, you see your teammate going somewhere and you envision yourself going there too. It's possible. So that was like a big eye opener. It's like Dayraja can do it. Dayraja can get there. I can do it. I can get there. And it was
Yeah.
like a little inspiration for me.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit because typically having competed from June until December,
Hmm.
winning an overall, winning a pro card, getting top 5 at a pro show, cool. That's a great year. Now let's take 6 months off and think, but something
Totally.
strange that I, you know, that I noticed with you is as soon as we bring
Yeah.
your food up, your
Yeah.
weight just kind of just sticks around like, you know, let's say you're on stage at what, 127, 126.
Yeah.
You don't get much heavier. You get what, 133, 134.
Yeah. I mean, if you just, yeah, I wouldn't say like I rebound super hard or anything like that.
Yeah.
Mind you, if I were to like be crazy or something, I'm sure that would happen. But I lead a very active lifestyle. Like I'm moving all day anyways. Like that's what my job
Yeah.
is. So I feel like
Yeah.
that helps in
Well, and
keeping
also
me
with
cleaner.
Eric deciding to compete this year, I think early in the year he was already in prep. So you guys are eating prep
Right.
food, you're going to the gym,
All the
you've
time. That's
got
our
two
life.
crazy dogs that you probably got to walk a bunch.
Yep. We just walk them all the time.
I
That's our
mean,
steps and cardio,
yeah. So, and dragging
know?
a hyper golden retriever is burning a lot of calories.
Right. And we are the type of people like Monday through Friday, we don't break our routine. We're not going out to dinners. I mean, and that might sound bad or sad, but like it's wake up, workout, work, walk the dogs, maybe another workout if we need to, and go to bed. And that's it. Like
Yeah.
that is our life. That is how we run our life. And that is how we are the happiest. When we go outside of our routine, it makes us stressed, you know?
Yeah.
So,
So I think getting a top five, and then, you know, I had been in touch with Sandy quite a bit, and I thought, you know,
mhm.
there's a early in the year, if you're in a good spot, there's a show in your backyard. Because you
Yeah.
live close to Sacramento. And I said, let's target that and let's just see how
Mhm.
you do.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, like you were raring to go by April.
Right.
You
I
were you were
mean, wait, what did we end? What were we? Was I third then? I was third then, yeah.
So, well, actually,
We had
I
the
tried to
one
be
before that.
fancy. Yeah,
Yeah,
so like literally I was looking at the competitor list for the shows, and I thought, man, the Clash is up for
Mhm.
grabs, right? There's no
Right. Mhm.
I had heard a rumor that Janet was going to do it, and she ended up not
Mm.
doing it. And so
Yeah.
then it was like, I think I saw Ashlyn on the list, and I
Right.
saw these girls, and I'm like, these are some good competitors,
Yeah.
but you fit in that group. And so I
Sure.
said, come to Clash, but you ended up like getting sick that week.
I got food poisoning on Monday.
Yeah, you had to like pull over on the side of the road. I remember you texted me. You're like, Coach, I
I
I, I can't drive my car.
I literally could not drive home from work. I got food poisoning. I was throwing up. I made my mom come from a couple towns over to pick me up and drive me all the way home to Chico. It was like a whole ordeal. So then I was just trying to recover on
Yeah.
Tuesday and
Oh yeah, your
Wednesday.
digestive system was a mess. You
It
couldn't
was.
eat. Yeah.
And then
So
I cut out caffeine and I didn't know. Then I started getting really bad anxiety and I just kept it to myself. I didn't tell you I was having anxiety.
yeah.
But it was rough. That was probably the most rough show I've ever had. But
Well,
we
and
still
we changed your front pose.
we did, yeah.
So like,
And I traveled without Eric, so that was like another little
yeah.
element
Yeah, I
there.
remember seeing you, and I still thought you looked damn good. Actually, our feedback was like your shoulders are too big for your glutes.
Yeah,
But I think that was more because
the
the front
pose.
pose shift, right? So
Yeah.
it kind of hid your glute, which if you guys
Hmm.
are really interested, if you go to YouTube and type in 2022 Clash, I have the
Hmm.
whole video on this, and we
Oh,
talk
okay,
about the
yeah.
feedback.
Yeah.
Because actually that was also the show that Savannah Finley, my true novice, won the overall. She won true
Right.
novice, novice, and open over. So like it was a pretty cool
Right.
weekend.
It was,
Um,
yeah. I
between you.
enjoyed like seeing you guys and hanging out and everything. It just all the little things leading up to it were just not adding up for me. It just
Yeah, it
wasn't
just didn't
gonna be
feel
my
like
show.
good vibes.
Yeah, it wasn't gonna be my
So
show.
the good news was after the show, we went out and had a little bit to eat. And then the Golden State was the next weekend. And I was flying out to Sacramento for that.
Hmm.
So we literally just said, okay, let's see how you
Revamp.
respond to like a
Yeah.
burger and fries. I think you looked great on Sunday.
Yep.
Went home, you were back to healthy.
Hmm.
And it was a
Changed my
completely different
pose.
story at Golden
Yeah.
State.
Went back to my old pose, figured out my caffeine issue, started consuming caffeine again, no more anxiety. Back on track with digestion. And I was excited because all my family was going to come and that was going to be the first pro show that they ever watched me compete in. So I had my people, you know?
Yeah, and it was really nice because you got to drive in.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yep.
Eric picked me up from the airport,
Yeah.
which was really nice. And so I made it, I think I just made it for pro check-ins,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And yeah, and you had me in April, and you had a couple NPC girls
Yeah.
that showed up, and
Yep.
yeah,
It was,
it
yeah.
was
So it was,
yeah,
I don't necessarily love that venue. I feel like it's a
yeah,
little crammed in there. Um,
yeah.
especially when you
It was a
compare it to like where
hotel,
we get to do shows in Florida, like the Clash,
right?
and then you go
Oh
to a
my
venue like
gosh,
that.
the
But
Clash
it
was
was
cool.
Sandy's show, and I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, good competitors are going to show up.
for sure.
And Ashley K jumped in,
But
and
that made me nervous because mind you, I'm a newbie, and she's the
oh yeah,
OG. She's the girl I like looked up
yeah.
to 8 years ago
And I
when
think
I first
even
started
that was the
competing.
show that I think Lucia jumped into that one.
Probably, yeah. Lucia got second, and I got, hmm
Yeah. So
yeah.
then
So
it was
I was
like,
like,
I
oh
was like,
my
okay, I
gosh,
just want to get you in first call outs. Let's just get
yes,
first call outs. Because I think we got seventh at Clash.
It
So
was
we were
7th,
like,
yeah,
okay, we just want to get first call outs. And lo and
right.
behold, first call outs, and you got moved back and forth with Vanya. So
Vanya, was she 4?
she was right next to you, and it was like
And
between
then
you guys. I
Ariel.
think she ended up
Yeah.
in maybe fifth, but so and then we got a third.
Yep. So it went
So
Ashley,
Ashley, Lucia.
Lucia, me. Then I think Vanya, then Ariel, or Ariel, then Vanya. One or the other,
I think
right?
Ariel actually finished sixth because she was initially in that first group,
Oh,
and they kind of
hmm
moved her out, and somebody else moved into
okay.
that fifth spot. Yeah, that's
Can't
because I
remember
remember
who.
that pretty clearly.
But
Um,
yeah, I was so stoked when they were moving me back around with like I was side by side with Ashley, and I was like,
yeah,
dude, I hope like I'm holding up or I'm looking good. You just kind of want to measure up to somebody
yeah.
that is the standard. You're like,
Well,
how
and
do
there
I
was
look
like
next to them?
I remember there was like 30 girls at that show that were pros. There was girls from like Australia. There was girls from all over
Yeah.
the world at that show. So
Yeah, there were.
it was a really good test. And to go, wow, okay, we're third at a show with Ashley K and Lucia,
Yeah,
who have won
right. Yeah,
between the two of them.
she was
Yeah.
top 10 at Olympia the year before. Lucia
She
was.
was top 10 at the Olympia. Ashley was third at the Olympia. So it's like, okay,
Hmm
we're rubbing shoulders with
Right.
the best of the
Olympians.
best. Yeah. I mean,
It's
that
like
was
I'm up there.
probably the first time you and I started thinking, okay, we can make a run at the Olympia. You're two
Totally.
spots away from qualifying.
Right.
Um,
I had a point at my pro debut, then I got third next
yeah,
to the Olympians, and I was like, wait, because
yeah,
all you need is it to be your day or to see who shows up, and you could win a first like that if you're already in the top 5.
yeah. And so, was it a week or 2 weeks before Wasatch?
I did 4 shows in 1 month
So it was
because
the next
that
weekend.
yeah, it was week after week after week because April had 5 weekends in it. So I
Yeah,
did 4 shows in April. And so
yeah.
Wasatch was next.
Wasatch
Clash,
was Salt Lake City,
yep, and then SAC, and then Wasatch, Salt Lake City,
and then
which
back to
was,
Girl Power.
and then back to Girl Power, back to Florida. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So I've actually
because it kept going so well.
Well, so let's talk about Wasatch because that was kind of a momentous show because that marked the return of India Paulino.
India. Yes,
She came out of
everybody
retirement. I had
was
not seen
hyping
her
it up,
compete since like 2017 or 18 in Tampa. Um,
right?
and
Back with OG posing.
wow, did she look good? Head
Yeah.
judge was now Becky. And again,
hmm
we're in that top four call out. I think they did a call out of four to finish prejudging, and you were in that group.
hmm
And they
hmm
had India and
Yeah.
Ashley come
Ashley did
out by themselves. So we knew they
do the
were
walk.
one and two. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Definitely.
definitely, definitely the best I saw India look all year. She looked really good at
I
that
think so.
show. I was
Yeah.
even thinking like, oh, it might be her day.
Yeah.
Ashley took home the hammer.
She did.
But
That
again,
hammer, that's a
another
cool
third.
one.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
want one of
another
those hammers.
third. 2 thirds back to back. And I was like, and back with the OGs, back with the
Yeah.
top dogs, top Olympians. I'm like,
So
oh
now
my
we're just like,
gosh, this
can
is
we just do
crazy.
a show without Ashley or without like
I
a
know.
chat?
Then maybe it'd be
Like
my show,
that's the hard part about the pros. Like that you don't
Right.
know who's going to show up and sign up. You don't know like it's
No,
it's so hard. And then you go to some shows and there's no Olympians and you're like,
I
what
know.
the heck? Like
You're like, why didn't I do that one?
yeah,
How,
you literally you know, that there's a lot of strategy involved there as a coach. I try to predict, but
Sure.
you just can't. You just don't know.
You
Like literally,
don't.
so here's the mindset of of a pro. You put your name on the list
Yep.
or you don't. The list comes out on like
Mhm.
Monday or Tuesday. You look at that list and you go, okay, but who's going to jump in?
Right.
Because you know, some pros, myself included, will have you guys not put your name on the list
Mhm.
until we want to see
Yeah.
who's on the list. Because, you know, if let's just say like if we need a win and we see Ashley's doing the show again,
Yeah.
is it worth our time to do the show? It was for us because we were still new enough.
Right.
Um,
And getting judges like to see me, know me, get their feedback, what their idea
yeah,
of what they want to see from me, you know.
yeah,
I was just putting myself out there this entire year. That's what I was
yeah.
doing.
And we literally saw every judge multiple times. Um, and you know,
Yeah.
ending at the Olympia where you get every judge. So
Right.
So we go back to Florida for Girl
Mhm.
Power, which
Girl
is again
power.
Sandy, Becky, Etala. I
Yep.
think Bernadette was there.
And going into girl power, I was like, I am heating up. I was starting to
Yeah.
feel myself a little bit. I was like, top three of these last two shows, going to Florida. Like, I felt like I was getting in a groove, you know?
Yeah. And there was nobody on that list that scared me. There was no Ashley. There was no India. There was no Lucia. Um,
Right.
Ashlyn is a very good competitor, but you guys are so different. I was like, you know,
Hmm.
obviously we'll see how that goes. Um,
Yeah.
Jessica Dolius at that show came out, and that's the best she's ever looked. I don't think
Agreed.
she's repeated that look again. But at the end of prejudging, they did put you back in the middle with Ashlyn.
I
I
know.
was freaking running up and down the aisle.
I low key thought it could have been my day. I was exuding the energy that it was my
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
I thought it could have.
It was close.
It
Ultimately,
was.
we ended up again in third, but
Yes.
you know,
Yeah. I
that
felt
was
good though.
just so much energy. And then
Hmm.
I think then we just started experimenting with different shows, different peaking plans. You
Right.
just start to get a little bit like, okay, what do we got to do here? Do we got to get leaner? Do we got to get fuller? Do we got to what do we got
I
to do?
know. Yeah.
Um,
At that point, you are kind of trying different things to see if that's what's going to be the look or something, you know?
yeah, yeah. So
And we were originally going to shut it down, but then I just was third, and I felt like, what if I just did one more, you know? And
yeah,
in hindsight, I think I did need to take a break and we should have, you know, but
yeah.
hindsight's
Well, and you
usually,
got to remember, like, I'm still so new at this as coaching
yeah.
at this level. Like, prior to you, Daraja was my only competitor that was always in first callouts, right? So
Right.
now I got you always in first callouts, and I'm like, cool, it's
Yeah,
going to go the way I want it to go. We're going to move up. And we just kept
sure.
getting that third. And you think,
Hmm.
okay, we'll go to Miami. And
Hmm.
that show was wide open. It was like Aaron Stern, Sierra Swan. But I'm like,
Hmm.
you fit right in with them, right? Like
Yeah.
they're tall like you.
Hmm.
You know, so but then we ended up like sixth there, I think, right? Or just
Seven, I
outside.
think. Yeah,
Seven.
just outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And I did love that show. I had a really good time. That was another show where all of my teammates were there. You were there. Bridget was there, like lots of support and stuff like that. And I enjoyed the show a lot, but it just wasn't, you know, I wasn't
yeah, I
on.
think we were starting to soften up a little bit. Um,
Hmm.
and it was kind of the nudge that I needed to say, hey, okay, we've got a lot of points. At that point, we were in the
Sure.
top, whatever, something for points. And I said,
Hmm.
let's shut it down and see how you go.
Yeah.
But again, calories went up and you responded really favorably. I thought
Hmm.
you were, and all this time, you know, I made a post yesterday with your glutes.
Yeah.
You were putting on muscle at a period of time when I would be like, yeah, we're probably not going to be adding muscle. So every time I would get your updates, I'd be like, man, you're just getting better. Like,
Right.
so I think we probably had a call somewhere in the middle of the year and said, okay, what are we going to do here?
Right. We were like, do we take a little baby break and come back in the fall and make a run for it? Or do we shut it down? Or, you know, and we just did kind of like an 8 week reverse type thing and pushed for Ben Weeder because I was like, I just had good feelings about Ben Weeder, it being
Yeah.
like drug tested, it being natural, it being in DC where our friend lives. Like, I was like, I
But
don't
they
know.
moved it up. It was pretty early. It was like,
Yeah, they moved it to September instead of
yeah,
November.
yeah.
So
Yeah, we
that
probably weren't ready for that show. You were probably a
couple
week
weeks
or two
away,
from being
you know.
dialed in.
Right.
And actually, Anne Marie ended up getting second at that show.
Yes.
The
And that
girl that
was
won, my
she was
goodness,
phenomenal. Wait, remind me who won.
is it Ariel?
Oh,
Maya
Maya,
Gordon.
Maya. Yes,
Oh,
Maya.
so
Beautiful.
now we can throw Brittany Hamilton in here because Brittany
Yes.
had done the Janet Battle of the Bodies, and Maya Gordon was there. And Brittany ended up getting second to India at that show. But I kept looking at Maya going, that girl is like a phenom. Her shape, her muscle, her beauty. Like she is
Beautiful.
I don't know how she doesn't do better at the Olympia. Like I see her at the Olympia and she
Yeah.
walks out and I'm just like, man, she looks, but they don't
Right.
move her around much. Like she hasn't gathered that like, but man, when you
Right.
just stand next to her,
Oh my gosh. She's beautiful.
yeah, there's just like no waist, big glutes, big shoulders. Like there's
Right.
just, she's almost like how you would draw someone.
Yeah, like a cartoon in a way.
Yeah. So she actually won the Ben Weider,
Mm-hmm.
and Anne Marie took second. But I think by pushing for that show, you
Yeah.
were set up because what
Oh
was the
yeah.
next show we did? It was really soon.
Yeah. So that was
It was
September,
maybe Legion
October.
or maybe
Oh,
San
it was
Antonio.
Legion. And
Okay.
then I had about 2 or 3 weeks
Yeah.
after that show before Legion. And so we were like, okay, we got to push. We got to tighten up. I was a little soft. I wasn't, quite ready at Ben Weider, where I did take fourth. So then we went to Legion, and that was then my best placing that's still my best placing
Yeah,
today.
because that
So
was actually like a tier 3
yeah,
show.
yeah, it
Huge
was.
production, right?
I got 6 points, I believe. And then
Yeah.
I was like, shoot, I'm kind of on the map for points, Paul. Like, are we gonna do this or not? Like, are
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
are
That's when
we
I
gonna
started
run for
looking at the
it?
points. And I remember
Yeah.
Jody had like 30, and then there was a bunch of girls around like 17, 18.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, you just got 6. So,
Yeah.
and then there was a show you really wanted to do on your birthday.
Yeah, I couldn't make it. It was before Ben Weider. I just wasn't ready for that. It was the Texas one.
Yeah, but we ended up doing the next one, right?
Yeah, we did San Antonio instead because after Legion, we did San Antonio. And so I got second at Legion.
Oh wait, so
And
Brittany won the show on your birthday then. That's the show she won to
yeah, she won my
qualify.
birthday show.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
And then in
It
San
was good.
Antonio um again splitting center, actually
I know.
dead center.
Was I? Oh yeah.
Because Dylan Bear was there and his girl, gosh, her name escapes me.
Oh, Marissa or
No,
Liana.
no, no, no.
Liana?
Gianna Moore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She I knew she was going to be a contender too, right? You know, you're
Sure.
looking at the list.
Sure.
But Dylan actually texted me and said, Lawna is dead center out of 9. And I was like,
With
oh, don't
Alex.
do this to me. Don't do
I
this to me.
know.
Because
I,
Jordan was next to you and she's so good. I'm just like, you know,
yeah.
is it one of those things where you're dead center or are you splitting center with Jordan?
Oh no, wait. Legion was me and Jordan. San
Yep.
Antonio was me and
Oh, you're
Alexandra.
right. You're
And
right.
Phoenix was me and Jordan again.
Oh, went back. Okay. So
So
Alex.
yeah, so it was me
Yeah.
and Alex. So I really thought, actually, you thought too that could be my show. Like it could be
You
my
know, I
day.
was picking apart the pictures and picking apart the videos in San Antonio, and I'm just like, you know, I thought you had much more glute size, you know, so I
Hmm.
thought you were winning the back pose for sure.
The
She
depth
looked a
of
little
mine.
tighter. She looked a little
Yeah.
tighter in the core.
Mm,
But if you're just talking about like shape, I thought
yeah.
you were beating her. But you
Right.
know, that's freaking pro bikini. Like you said, she just showed
I
up
know.
on for one day and got the
I know.
qualification.
Yeah. So then we had 2 seconds in a row. And so we're like,
Yes,
okay,
second.
what's the next one? When's your first? Are you gonna get a first or
Well, and I
so
think you said Sandy was like,
see you
because
at the
you
next
know,
one.
yeah, my feedback, like sometimes the judges will be like, hey, you just need to stop. You know, it's too much.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
Sandy
No,
was
she
like,
didn't do
I
that.
really want to see you in Phoenix.
Yeah. She said, I'll see you in Phoenix. She didn't even question it. She said, come in a touch tighter. I'll see you at Phoenix. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Paul, I have to go do Phoenix now.
Yeah. Well, and then our great friend and my client and just
Yes.
Kelly Clark was like, tell her I'll put her up and we'll take
She
care of her.
hosted.
Because at
Yes.
this point, we're like, okay, are we
It was a
going
lot.
broke to get points?
Right. It It was a lot, but no, I'm so glad I did do that show though, because now I have the best friendship with Kelly and her family. And every time I do another show, sometimes it's not even about the show and it's not even about the point or whatever. Along the way, at every show I've done, I've met somebody that I've genuinely connected with, like Kelly and her family, like Chantel, who I met in Phoenix as well, and then hung out with in Sacramento. And just all these relationships have been coming along with the journey. And I'm equally as excited about those things too. So, you
Yep.
can't put a price on that for personally.
No, well, I mean, now I want you to multiply that by the last 6 years, and that's my life. Like, I am so blessed.
Yeah.
I got every city I go to, I've got friends, I've got, just like relationships and people that I've met, because as a competitor, like I am myself, we just have a certain way that we live our lives that's just,
Hmm.
we're kind of have a bond.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
I don't know, you ever, this is going to be a out of left field thing, but there was this documentary on flat earthers.
Oh, yeah.
And what it was like, basically we're talking about like these people that believe that the earth is flat, but ultimately
Hmm.
it came down to they were a community of
Sure.
like-minded people that had like-minded beliefs. And I was
Sure.
like, that's bodybuilding, because nobody
It
gets
is.
us. Everybody's
No.
like, what are you stupid people doing with your workouts and your pictures
Yeah. Yeah. They think it's
and your
silly.
rice cakes? Yeah.
But all of us, it's just such a community, like you just said. And I've just made so many valuable friendships and relationships. Like, I want to meet these people across the United States and vacation with them. Do you know? Like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, kind of that's what these are. These are like little fitness
they
vacations. We
are.
go, sometimes we
Yeah.
get an Airbnb, sometimes we get a
Right.
hotel, we go out to dinners.
Right.
Like it's wonderful. Actually, I'm excited. Denitra just started prep, so she's going to be coming back this year. So yeah,
No way.
I
Oh,
don't know if I
that's
was supposed to
epic.
say that, but sorry,
Oh,
D, if you told
oops.
somebody. Um, no
It's
one
her
listens to
debut
our
then.
podcast.
Only the
um,
fam. Just kidding.
so after that second, now we were firmly
Yeah.
in like third or second place.
Yep, with points.
And
Yeah.
now we're like, okay, who's Esther Ozella? Who's like, I didn't know who these people, who's Stine Hansen?
I
Who
know.
are these people? We had to start
Hmm.
learning their names
Yeah.
because they were
We had to
competing.
start following them.
Yeah. And they were in another country. We couldn't even like predict what they were going to do. Cause in Europe,
Right.
I'm like, can you compete in Prague and then compete in Spain the next weekend? I don't know.
Right. Yeah. And they did. They did every show they
Every,
had to do.
yep.
So then I was doing every show I had to do.
So let's just talk about how it came down to the last weekend to qualify was November 9th.
Yeah, it was the Hawaii 19th, November
Yeah,
19th.
November 19th was the last weekend to qualify. There
Yeah.
was 2 shows in the United States, I think, and there
Mm-hmm.
were
Like,
1 show in Europe, and it was in Denmark.
yep, yep.
And
And
both, so Jody was in first in points. She
she
signed up
was
for
the,
Hawaii.
yeah.
You
And she
were,
didn't need to do it, technically. She
she
didn't
didn't
need to
need
do
to do
it.
it. Well, no, because I thought because
I did,
Jordan
I did the
beat
math.
you,
She would have, whether Esther or Stine got points or this or that, she would
okay,
have
she was
at least
safe.
ended in second. She was safe, but
Maybe she just wanted to go to
you know,
Hawaii. Or, like you just want to
she
fine
was
tune your physique because she took a little time off.
right.
But
She was getting leaner. So,
yeah, so it was like there were so many scenarios. If
mm-hmm.
Stine or Esther wins the show in Denmark, you're in. If you win the
Yeah,
show, you're in. If you got second
I
or
was most
third, I think
likely
they're
in.
like you were guaranteed to
Yeah.
be in, right?
Yeah, most likely I would be in.
And the worst part was your show was Saturday, their show was Sunday.
Yeah, so I had to wait. And it was in Europe.
Yeah,
So
Denmark,
different
like 8 hours
time.
ahead. Well, 11 hours ahead
Oh
for
yeah,
you.
Denmark.
Well, and you were in Hawaii, so it was like 12
Yeah,
hours
so
ahead.
it was weird. Yeah, it was. I just kept refreshing my page, Paul, after I ended taking fifth.
Yeah,
And so that only gave me one more point. So like
right.
I wasn't super
So
thrilled.
basically, we needed
One of them to win.
one of them to win or not place
Yes,
because
we
you were
needed
kind of ahead of, yeah,
Dina to get no points at all because she was right on my heels, or
yeah,
Esther to get first. And
yeah.
then
So I
I
just
knew I would
remember
go.
Sunday morning just doing the same thing as you, refresh,
Right.
refresh, and
Refresh,
finally
refresh.
it comes up that Esther wins, and there was only like 12 girls in the show. I was like,
No, it was a small one. I know.
but
And
Esther
we had
wins.
a good idea she would win because she just came off a second. So I
Yeah,
was really hopeful. I probably would have been a little crushed if it didn't go that way, but I was still proud that I saw it through. and I just gave it my all.
Yeah,
And
and I think you and I decided like, okay, we've come this far.
yeah,
We would be crushed if, say, you didn't do the show and
yeah,
Stine got fifth,
right.
and
And
you
just
could have
nudged
gone if
me
you'd
out.
have just placed, right?
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
we
exactly.
wanted to be able to go.
Yeah,
We did everything in our power because God knows we're taking some time off.
right.
So your
This was
off season just got pushed back by a month.
I know. Yeah, yeah, that's what Eric said too. He was like, "What's one more month, Lana? You know, just finish strong." And so we did. And it all worked out. And maybe the universe saw my efforts and our efforts and how we never gave up and we were rewarded. But we made it to Olympia. And then now we
Yeah.
had to peak for that, which was
Well,
four weeks away after
yeah, I'd
that
like
show.
to hear a little bit of your thoughts on the Olympia as a whole, but I
Yeah.
was, I don't want to say shocked, but seeing you in person like Wednesday when you got there,
Right.
I was like, holy crap. Like, this is the best you've ever looked.
Yeah, you were a little surprised, I
I was
think.
like, other than the color of your skin, which was like
Right.
bright white,
Translucent. I know.
you were ready to step on stage on Wednesday.
I know.
You
It was
looked
pretty crazy.
fantastic.
So going into Olympia after Hawaii, I had a diet break for all of Thanksgiving break, which mentally I needed that. I was so ready for that diet break.
Well, and
And
didn't you stay in Hawaii with your mother-in-law?
yeah, we stayed like an extra day or two, and then we came back together on like Monday or Tuesday because I had started my Thanksgiving break from work. So I like had no rush. She came out to support me and also get away from the husband and, have a little girls' weekend,
I
which was
guess I'll go to Hawaii.
yeah, she was like, "Oh darn, I need to go support you in Hawaii."
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was nice to have her. So we had that diet break for all Thanksgiving break, and then it was 3 weeks of back-to-back mock peak weeks. And
Yeah.
at that point, I was like, excited for my burger and fries and all that stuff. But then I kind of was like, what do I even look like anymore? Because I've been in it for so long.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I don't know. Do I look good? Do I not look good? When you're in it for a really long time, you get a little confused. But showing up and seeing you and seeing your reaction in your face, I was like, oh shit, I think I'm on.
Oh, I was actually looking at Daraja and looking at you going like, damn, is she leaner than Daraja right now? Like, she's tight right now. Like, and Brittany looked good too. And
Right.
so did Sally. So
Oh my gosh,
I was thrilled
everyone.
with how all the girls were looking.
Yeah.
Um,
I
all
think
right.
that was my
So,
tightest.
so
Mhm.
talk me through so Olympia is 54 girls. You're in the third group?
Yeah,
Second.
was I in the second group? I think I might have been in the second group.
Who was in
They
your
did
group?
groups of,
Because like
I don't
all
even
the
know.
first four groups had all
Oh,
the
I
top
had
10.
big hitters.
Yeah.
No, I had
Laura
all the
Lee?
big hitters. Yeah, Laura Lee was the first one to walk out in my group. And I'm like, I literally have to follow Laura Lee. Are you kidding me right now? And then I had Marie Eve. She was in second call outs,
Evie
I believe.
Eskandar. Yeah. She won like
Evie
6 shows
Eskandar.
to start. Yeah.
She was top 13 and she's won a million shows. I had Ellie Fernandez behind me. I
Yeah.
was like, are they even gonna notice me?
Yeah. I'm
It was
telling
a
you, all
good
the,
group.
I may not be right on this, but I believe all top 10 Olympians,
Hmm.
no, because Janet would have been later down the line, but like the first
Sure.
four groups,
Yeah, we're all the
it
Olympians.
was Dory,
The
Chapados,
right, right.
Hill, like
Yeah,
Kaltwasser,
yeah.
Phoebe Hagen. They were all in that first couple groups. And I was looking at these lineups going, this could be the Olympia, just this group.
I know. It's so
So,
crazy. But
um,
no, honestly, like because I had done so many shows and because I knew that was my best, I was just enjoying the ride. I was like, I am bringing my best and I made it to the Olympia. I'm so damn proud right now. And I was so excited. I thought I would be more nervous, like it would feel like a harder show, but it didn't. I just felt like I belonged and I had worked my freaking ass off to get there. So I don't know. I felt really good going out though. I wasn't like scared or anything.
in the
So that was
stage,
good.
you handled that well because it was a little bit, the carpet was
Yeah.
a little rough.
I know everybody was worried about it, but I don't know if I was just, not paying attention and like zoning in on the judges. I didn't even realize that it was like sticky carpet at all. It was weird. So it didn't bother me.
Nobody fell. I told Daraj, I said,
No.
the thing is like, you guys are all so,
Yeah.
experienced that like, you're used
Right.
to like stages with wood, with carpet, with
Right.
tile. It doesn't matter. You guys could pose on grass. It'd be fine.
Right. I did go back and watch some routines and I could tell some girls were sticking, you know, and it
Well,
really
they
was
kept,
affecting.
I don't know, Daraja didn't notice this,
Mm.
but there was a guy backstage that after every group, he would come out and fix the floor. So there must have been something funny
Oh,
about the floor.
right. It kept dragging.
So in your group, I think you were kind of dead center, right?
I was splitting center and I was like, yes, I love that for me, you know?
Yeah.
That's always a good spot to
I
be
hate, yeah,
in
Daraja was all the way on
comparison.
the right. Brittany was all the way on the left. I'm like,
I don't
damn it.
like that.
You want, I mean, you don't
Yeah.
get to control that. It's numerical.
No. Yeah,
Um,
totally.
but so give me your
It
impressions
was
of like
nice.
the group and like looking down at the judges. Did you get eye contact? Did you get nods? What'd you get?
Right. I can't say that I saw them like whisper my name other than actually, okay, that's a lie. Not during group comparisons. I couldn't tell that they were specifically talking about me, but in call outs, my personal goal was to be about middle of the road. I just want to be in the top half of girls. So I would have loved to be third call outs. But when they started calling fourth, and I was like, oh, dang, they didn't say my number. And then I hear Tyler. He's like, you forgot 12, Sandy. And that's my number. And I'm like, oh, Tyler, thank you for reminding her. She forgot my number. And so I ended up making fourth call out. So I could see, you know, at that
So I
point.
think you placed ahead of some of the girls that beat you this year, because I think Lucia actually ended up in fifth call out.
Right.
Stine ended up in fifth call out, right?
Yeah.
So,
Jody had beaten me a couple times. I beat her, you know, like I was just
oh, Jody
like,
placed lower. I didn't, where did she
yeah,
place? Oh, and
she,
Jordan then, because Jordan was
I
down.
was fourth and they were both in fifth, I think.
Okay.
So I was just like, wow, you know, it's not always about that first place. That earning a first place doesn't mean you're going to place better at Olympia than somebody else. Do you know
Sure.
what I mean?
Sure.
So I felt like validated, like I am one of the three of the only people that have 0 first place wins. And I just technically placed higher than 20 girls, you know? So I
Yeah.
was like, that means something to me, anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I mean, you know, obviously, if you're not in the top 10 at this show, show's
Right.
over. And
Exactly.
that was a hard lesson for me at my first Olympia with my first
Yeah.
competitor. Was like, oh, I didn't even, you know, man,
Yeah.
you got no points, you got
Yeah.
no wins, you're not qualified for the next Olympia. It's like,
It doesn't, yep. You did
so
all that, you know.
yeah. So,
But
but the fun thing was like, you know, I would I've loved to have you in the top 10. Yes.
sure.
I looked at that list of names and I'm like, you're going to
It's
have to beat,
insane.
you know who 9th and 10th were? Janet and Issa.
I know. Like
What the
what?
hell? Like, can you,
Miss Bikini Olympians.
two of them?
Like
Yeah.
you
And
have to
then, you
beat
know,
them, you know?
crazy
Yeah.
that's so to think like, okay, to get in the top 10, you have to beat Issa and
Oh,
Janet.
yeah. You have to be worthy of being Miss Bikini Olympia, basically.
Yeah. So
Oh,
we
so
knew, and I think,
that's gonna take some time for me.
well, and that's what we're going to do. I mean, you took
Yeah.
7 years off last time. I don't think we're going to take 7 years off,
Yeah,
but
no, maybe
the
not
amount of
this time.
progress you made in prep and doing 17 shows in the last year, just imagine 7, 8 months of no shows. It's going to be,
Exactly.
it's
That's
going to
what
be
I'm
fun.
excited for.
And you got
Because
to experience Olympia in Vegas.
yeah. And I know some people will think, "Oh, you're stupid for doing that many shows," or "Oh, why would you do that?" or you place, you know, fourth call outs at Olympia. For me, it wasn't about that. For me, it was getting back into something that I loved. It was trying to do something that I think is impossible and actually achieving it. And it was it was like a little bit of if I die tomorrow, I'm happy. Kind of like that. I was kind of like living
Well,
like that this past year.
you know, I'm still new to coaching girls that get to go to the Olympia, but
Yeah.
there's something that happens when you go to the Olympia. Every time you compete now, they go,
Mhm.
how many Olympians are at this show?
Yeah, that's true.
You are now
I am. Yeah.
on a short list. It's a
Hmm.
short list of girls, and and what people don't realize, because they just took away the point system, is that this next Olympia is
Right.
going to be small.
It's going to
That
go from the biggest to maybe the smallest.
there are no pro qualifiers until end of March,
Crazy. You
because
have March.
I'm looking at Laura Lee, and I'm telling you, she's doing the Arnold. The list hasn't come out, but she's looking really good right now.
You have 7 months of shows.
Seven
That is
months,
it.
7 months instead of 14.
Yeah. So it's
No
in
points.
half. it's in half.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I guarantee you and I mean, I don't know how much truth there is to it, but like Ashley's like, I want to do 10 to 15 shows. And, some of these girls do 3, 4 shows and they win them. You might have 30 girls at the Olympia this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And I mean, I think the year before was 35, right? So it'll go back down
Yeah,
into the
2021
30s.
was like 36. This year was
Okay.
54. But
It'll go
there's
back
also
down.
so many international shows.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And those are a little more wide open because the numbers are less and the
Hmm.
competitors are like newer. Like one of the girls this year won 3 pro shows after turning pro.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
everyone was talking about her. And I think she was in the last call out.
Last call outs.
So
And she had 3 pro wins in Europe.
3 pro wins in Europe after turning pro. So I don't know. Again, it's hard to pay attention to anybody that you're not familiar with, let alone,
Right.
but the fact that she was in the last call outs, I can't even comment. I didn't see her, but I had people asking me like, what do you think about
Right.
this girl? And I was like, I don't know the name. I'm sorry.
In my personal opinion of why she didn't place higher is the posing style, the suit and like whole look style is
Yeah.
different. And she actually had like feathering in her quads, to be fair.
Oh, they made
She
it
was,
very clear with
yeah,
the call outs this year. If
yeah.
you were too hard,
You
Lucia
were out.
Malgaze went from 10th
Oh
to
my
like
gosh.
somewhere in the 30s.
She was crispy. Yeah.
I mean, that's a
The
statement because
styling.
she won that Hawaii show. She was 5th at the Arnold, maybe. And
Yeah.
then for her to go from 10th to like, I mean,
Right.
fifth call out, I was like, because you start to look at who's left on that stage. And I would look up there and be like, Lucia's still standing there.
I
Like,
know. I
she is
know.
stunning, great
I
shape, everything.
think you're right. They are making a hard statement of we do not want, striations, feathers. We don't want that.
They
Like
want full. They want full. Like
if you
Maureen,
don't, yes. So
Jen looked the best she's ever looked.
agreed.
But I
Agreed.
think the reason they might have gone with Maureen is because she was a little fuller.
Yeah.
It was probably very close. And obviously, you went out for a burger and fries the night before with
Yeah.
Daraja, so we know she was full.
Right. She definitely was. Yeah. No. I mean, I'm excited the direction that Bikini has gone these past few years. Because it
Same.
was a little freaky deaky a couple Olympias ago. But now it's like, okay, I can admire this person and I can aspire to be that look.
Yeah.
It's attainable
The standard
for
is very nice. It's
yes.
very elegant and
Yes.
balanced and full and muscular. So
Hmm.
much muscle that you don't have to get insanely shredded to see your shape.
Right. Right. And I think that's what's going to help me moving forward is just a bit more muscle to so that I'm not, exactly what you just
Yeah.
said, that I'm
Yeah.
not having to be so shredded to then fill out and give that
Yeah.
full
Yeah.
appearance
Yeah. So we just
personally.
got to improve your shape a little bit. And then I think
Yep.
but the nice thing is when we come back, I know we're going to be fighting for first right away. We're not going to be like, where
Right.
are we going to place? You're going to be one of those
Yeah.
girls that's on the list that everyone goes, oh, Lawna's coming, just like it
Right.
is now with Daraja, where, as soon as she puts her name on the list, everyone goes, well, she's top 2, top 3, right?
Right.
So I think that's going to be the case unless you run into a show like Pittsburgh where like Janet,
Hmm.
Issa, Laura Lee, Ashlyn. I remember
Right.
it was like a who's who at that
Right.
show of like the bikini. It's like a pre-Olympia show. So
It was. It was. It's like a mini Olympia.
yeah,
That's the goal now. Now is to like take the time to improve to be that girl that people are like, oh, Lana's coming, Like
yeah,
how cool would that be?
yeah, yeah. So I guess we can finish this off by just kind of talking a little bit about plans.
Right. I mean, we haven't even talked about anything
No,
really.
honestly, like I haven't even sent your new training because you were sick.
No, I know. You were like,
Um,
can you just get better, please? Work
yeah,
on that. And I'm like, okay.
I think what I've been doing with all my competitors, you, Brittany, is
Hmm.
I want to look at your pictures and really set up your training so that we're
Right.
staying within that standard and making sure we're balanced. Because
Yeah.
I noticed some girls not doing as well, and it was because like, okay, their upper body is not matching their
Right.
lower body's up a little bigger, whatever it was,
Sure.
and at that level, it's just so because the bodies are so different, the
Right.
structures are so different,
Yeah, your muscle bellies or your bone structure and everything has to be so specific to you and
To you,
how
yeah.
you can balance that, you
Some
know?
girls can have a little more muscle than others and still fit the criteria. Some girls, if they add any muscle, they're all of a sudden outside the criteria. So
Yeah.
it's you know, it's a fun journey because now I'm passing that on to now my NPC girls, my
Hmm.
true novice competitors. I love true novice. You know, I
Yeah.
just love I love molding competitors from the beginning. I'm
Yes.
I'm I don't want to, I'm not someone that's gonna, you know, it may happen, but my goal is not to be like, look, I have all these, I have 10 Olympians, right? No,
Sure.
my goal is to be like, I want to go to the Clash and be
Yeah.
like, I've got this girl that could win. I've got,
Yeah.
we can say some names. I've got Elena Perez is in prep. I got
Right.
Savannah Finley in prep. I've got, Maria Nemeth is in prep. I got these
Yes.
girls that I'm so excited about. And even
Same.
girls that people wouldn't know their names right now, that I
Hmm.
promise you after one show, everyone's going to be like, you see that
Don't
girl?
know them.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that, like for me, when I
Also,
get my updates,
you have quite the, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, opening my updates and looking at pictures, like,
Mhm.
if people could see that, what I see
Right.
every day, they'd be like, Jesus. Like, I am so excited for this year.
I bet every year just gets better and better. And I feel like you actually at different shows have like quite the reputation to uphold with when you come and you sweep the show, like
Oh
at the
man,
Clash
it's
or like at the Ben Weeder, like 2 years in a row now. It's like
yeah.
you have to keep coming with all these heavy
Believe
hitters.
me, I
And
am, like I am planning out Catriona's season because I'm like, okay,
yeah.
what show? I don't want to put like a lot of good NPC girls at one show. Once you turn pro,
Mhm.
all bets are off. But like,
Sure.
like I want to, place them and have them
Yeah.
do well at their individual shows. So yeah, you know, I think a couple of years ago I realized like it's really cool for a competitor to win an overall. Like that's not
Yeah.
something, especially once you turn pro, not many girls are going to get another overall after that, right? So
Milk it while you
that
can.
overall, and then you get the pro card, and then
Yeah.
you don't need to compete in the NPC anymore. The
Yeah.
NPC is so fun.
It is.
It's so fun.
It is because you can be that big fish in that little pond. You know what I mean?
There's nothing like going to a show and being the last girl on stage
Yeah.
and standing
Like,
there for that overall picture, and then like it's just a moment that like you're going to remember forever. So I really, really try to put girls in position to do that and get
hmm
that feeling, because then
yeah.
you go, okay, now I deserve to go to the pro league.
It gives you the confidence to go to the next level, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
So I think you and I are going to
Talk. We'll
focus
talk.
on,
No.
yeah, we'll talk, but I mean, I'm not allowing you to get on stage
No, I
before.
know. I keep telling people, I'm like, no, he won't even talk to me about shows because you know how I am. You know, I'm easily excited about competing and
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So, but I am
I have a
excited.
very specific show in mind for you, which you can probably figure out and we can talk about it when I hang up. But like,
Okay.
just, I have some thoughts.
Yeah.
That will set us up for success and allow you to continue to grow. But
Yes.
also life happens, things happen. So we'll see. I don't know.
Right.
Is Eric competing this year?
Yeah, so we talked about it. He has a free entrance that he earned to Chattanooga after winning overall at one of the it was either the San Jose show or the SAC show. So
It was the one I was at. It was Sacramento.
yeah, it must have been Sacramento. So he earned a free entrance to that. That would be like in June though. So I don't know if that's necessarily on his radar, but like you said earlier, Ben Weeder is always going to be
Yeah.
a show he would want to do.
Yeah. And
Being a natural
he's
athlete.
got
Yeah.
such a good physique for classic. So yeah, that'll always be
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, he did really well this year with Steven and you and under your guidance as well. He got 2 overalls in classic physique and looked by far the most shredded guy on stage as a
Did you,
natural athlete. Like he looked
did
phenomenal.
you, let's tell everybody what his feedback was after winning the
Oh,
overall in
I'm gonna tell.
Sacramento.
Okay. Okay, so at Sacramento, Sandy was the judge and she knows we're married and a couple and we go up to her and she's like, to be honest, Lawna, you need his glutes and he needs your arms. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Sandy, stop. Because my husband, if you've never seen his glutes, he has the biggest, like wellness looking glutes on
Well, he's
this
got
night.
big quads. He's just got huge lower body,
He does.
which is
And
weird. It's like odd for a tall guy his height to have such big legs.
it is weird. I never knew that his lower body would be his dominant part, because he used to do physique, so he was always covered in board shorts. So
Yeah.
like I never knew, you know?
No, he's got
But
to, if he brings that upper body up just a little bit to match, he's going to be impossible to beat.
in me, I literally do 0 biceps and 0 triceps. And I have the thickness of my
Yeah.
arms. Like I don't need to touch a weight. I just do my shoulders and my back, and my arms maintain the thickness that they have. And it's really weird.
Yeah. You get that vein.
I know. I'm like, chill,
You're pumping up
chill.
backstage. I'm like, stop with the veins, Lawna. Stop with the veins.
Anywho's, it's fun though.
All right. Well, I guess that wraps it up. Congratulations on
Yes.
an amazing 18-month stretch to
Thank
go from
you.
not novice, but to go from NPC competitor to pro to Olympian. It's just been a complete honor. It's been awesome. Like,
Thank you.
So and I'm excited to see what we do next.
Yep.
We
It's
can
gonna
hang out at a
be,
few shows this year and
yes, yes, I would love to.
yeah, if you want to come to Wasatch, that's such a cool show to come to.
Loved
Uh,
Wasatch. It's
oh
beautiful.
man, that's a good show. So I'll be
Hmm.
out for that one.
Cool.
I don't know if I'm coming to any of those Sacramento shows. My flights got so screwed up going to Sacramento. I swore I'm not
Yeah.
going back there, but I may.
It's hard to go coast to coast, not gonna lie.
You just miss one flight and you're screwed up for like a week. It's the worst.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, thank you guys for listening to the Pro Physique Code. Be sure to follow Lawna on Instagram at Lawna Dunbar
Yes.
IFBB Pro. And
Yeah.
let's see what the year has to hold for us.
Woohoo.
Bye, guys.